Welcome to The Cauldron, a podcast hosted by Ed Bolden-Greer, the creator of Ravens Vail. In each episode, Ed will have free-flowing conversations about horror, life, culture, and personal growth. Expect to hear from storytellers, authors, horror experts, life gurus, thought leaders, and influencers. The Cauldron is a place where concoctions of a lot of ideas are brewed down to potions that are sometimes important and useful, sometimes eccentric and bizarre, but always just what you need. The Cauldron podcast may contain explicit language and thematic elements not suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Well, hey there, family. Welcome back to the Ravens Vail Cauldron podcast, where the whispers of wisdom echo and the warmth of our community gathers around the mystical flames as we stoke the embers of curiosity. Here in this sanctuary of sorcery and storytelling, as the cauldron simmers, we're here to brew up a concoction of topics that resonate with the soul and spark your imagination. I'm your host, Ed Bolden-Greer, and I'm joined today by the brave conjurer of curiosity, my co-host, Jacob Garner, a.k.a. Frady Cat.
Hello, everyone. In today's episode of the Ravens Vail Cauldron podcast, we're not just peeking through the veil. Today, we cast our gaze upon the mist-shrouded waters of legend and lore to unveil the secrets of ghost ships. Join us as we embark on a journey through history and myth, exploring the most infamous of these maritime phantoms. Together, we'll unravel the truths behind the tales and perhaps discover why these ghostly ships continue to captivate us to this very day. Fasten your seatbelts, grab your spell books, and prepare to be transported to a world where every tick of the clock holds a new adventure.
Hey, Jacob, how you doing, man?
Oh, fantastic. Just had a delicious salad, some french fries.
Excellent. Well, everybody, today in the studio, we have the lovely Kristen Newby.
Yay!
Hi.
She's the voice of Sibyl over at Ravens Vail Podcast and also happens to be the talent specialist for Small Raven Media. Kristen, welcome to the studio today.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Well, guys, Pride Month is over.
Mm-hmm. Come and gone.
Can you believe we're halfway through 2024?
Yeah, that sucks. Not looking forward to it.
I'm just, Jacob, are you going back in the closet, man, now that Pride Month's over?
Yes, starting July 1st, I very quickly retreated back into the closet. I have an announcement that I will make live on air.
Okay.
I am straight now.
Uh-huh.
Also, the closet that I found myself in, like most closets, very spacious, lots of room in here.
That's because you fit in small closets really well. Because how tall are you, Jacob?
Kristen, don't you know the answer?
Jacob, how tall? Kristen, how tall is he?
You 5'5"?
Yeah, 5'5".
I say in all 6 foot of myself.
Yeah, I just wanted to hear somebody else call me 5'5" today.
Yeah.
So.
I'm just going to put this out there for the listeners that don't know this. Kristen and Jacob share an office.
Yeah.
Like they're in an office share thing. Kristen has a lot of space because she shares the office with Jacob.
Yes. It's like a Rocky and Bullwinkle type situation.
Now, we've kind of told you all out there about what we were doing during June. Outside of it being Pride Month, we were also supporting our dear friend Jacob in his efforts to cut out his vices.
Mm-hmm.
And for us, that meant we were not going to do anything that had added sugar, and we weren't drinking alcohol. And we really did clean up our diets a lot. But guess what? June's over.
Oh, yeah, baby.
You ain't going to run no more of my concerts.
No,
I get to have a drink.
4th of July is going to be awesome. I can't wait.
I do want to remind everybody that CreepyCon's coming up in August 2nd through the 4th. Make sure you all come out and see us at our booth. You'll get to meet us. The 3 of us will be there, and you can get some free stuff.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. We will have free seated chair massages, too, provided by Massage Remedy.
Yeah.
So come on by.
I don't know why anybody would stay away getting a free massage.
I know. I know.
Tickets are on sale now. You can go to www.creepycon.com and get your tickets. There will also be tickets at the door. Jacob, I have a little thing. I know Kristen and I have talked about this, but I have a little thing that's probably going to surprise you a little bit.
Okay.
They're doing the show a little different this year.
Uh-huh.
They're going to have the light side where all the lights are on, and then they're going to have the dark side. So they've rented the entire convention center floor. They're going to have the dark side, and like the shows will be over there, and the haunted houses will be over there.
Are you saying that like the lights themselves will not be on that side?
Right.
Or some shit?
Yeah.
Fuck that, no.
We'll get you a flashlight.
Yeah, I'm gonna get like a little headlamp. It's like, Jacob, did you see that booth in the back corner? No, I didn't. Tell me all about it. Fuck that, dude. I ain't doing that. Hey, by the way, I just want to point out to the listeners really quick, Jason from Idle Hands Tattoo is actually in the studio just a couple of minutes ago before we started to record.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, not oddly enough, probably through your recommendation, one of our D&D campaign partners is actively getting tattooed by them right now.
Yeah, she's getting a full back.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she's been doing it in stages. If you haven't listened to that episode, it dropped this past week, and it's really good. We're getting a lot of great feedback from that episode.
Yeah, Jason sounded great. Sounded like a natural. I know that was his first podcast he'd ever done, but man.
Yeah, he was really good. So I hate to, we've been having a good time, but I hate to bring up, kind of weird news is what I'll call it. Not necessarily bad, but it probably is going to be bad. What do y'all think about the Supreme Court decision on the presidential immunity?
My eyes can't roll hard enough.
Yeah.
I see all the steam coming out of y'all's ears over there.
Yeah.
Just add it to the list of things that I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
man?
I mean,
The vagueness of it all, too, is a little unnerving at the moment.
That's what I thought. And all of the people who are constitutional law experts and what have you, just not having the answers to it and it being so vague, it just seemed very like party.
You mean along party lines?
Yeah.
You mean to tell me
that's what I said.
Putting loyalists on the court?
Yeah, I know.
You mean if I can't
But-
trust politicians, who can I trust, Ed?
Oh my, I get you.
Schoolhouse Rock just did not prepare me for this
Nope.
immense lack of checks and balances.
Checks and balances. That's what I was. That's what I was going to say.
Mm.
So, Jacob, before you start talking about ghost ships, like I'm really not sure why you were so anxious to do this, since
man.
you're afraid of ghosts. Are you ready for the would you rather questions?
Oh, yeah, man. Come on. Let's do it.
Okay.
Oh, and by the way, I've got one for Kristen as well. So now
Okay.
she's in studio.
Cool. Okay, here we go. Jacob, would you rather
Uh-huh.
have the ability to control the elements of nature with your mind,
Okay.
or wield ancient runes that can alter reality?
Now, my knee-jerk reaction is to say the control the elements of nature, but what do you mean by like alter reality?
I'm supposing you could do whatever you wanted to. Go back in time travel.
Oh shit!
You could, take out people if you wanted to do whatever your morals would allow you to do. You wouldn't have, of course, presidential immunity to take out your political opponent, but
I can alter reality where I'm the president, and then I can do it, right?
yes.
I think I'll go with the runes because I was thinking about if I can alter reality, doesn't that also mean I can alter the weather?
Yeah.
So then you and I will never have to be cold again.
Oh, God, please, God, give him that.
See, I'm a
talent.
team player here.
Yeah, you are.
All right. Kristen, I got yours. You ready?
Yeah, let's go for it.
All right. Would you rather possess a magical artifact that grants eternal life, but you must live in solitude, or have the power to heal any wound, but you feel the pain of those you heal?
No, wait, hold on. That might be a little unfair because she doesn't have any problems being by herself.
Yeah, seriously though, that was kind of my first thought, but I'm gonna have to go with the other option and be able to heal people, even if I feel that pain. I think that's probably one of my biggest things in life is watching people go through
Absolutely.
Absolute pain.
I
That's
mean,
awful.
And just on a funnier note, anytime you're at a party, you're talking to somebody and they're like, I'm an empath. You're like, no, I really actually.
I can feel your pain.
I mean, it would
wonder.
be temporary though, right?
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
what
Ongoing.
when I read these type of would you rather questions, I feel like you would experience the pain that they're having while you're healing them, and then it would stop.
Yeah, that's kind of the
Oh,
way
I would stomach that for
Yeah.
just about anybody. I would,
Yeah.
Anybody, I would stomach that.
I kind of think about people like Jacob comes in and says, I have a headache, and you be able to go, okay, you don't have one anymore. Hold on, okay, it's gone. That would be miraculous. And the things you could cure, because there's no limitations. It didn't say, well, it does say wound.
Well, maybe it's also kind of like a selfish thing.
Yeah.
Just watching people suffer through things and not be able to do anything about it is torture itself.
But you know what I just thought?
Hmm.
You can have psychological wounds too.
Oh shit!
It didn't really define it, so we could wordplay that a little bit.
You know what's
Already
crazy
there.
to think about? Like if Kristen is constantly healing people, I mean, over the course of her life, her pain tolerance is going to go through the roof.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
I've already been told it's kind of high, so let's test it.
I think your husband would want to keep those things secret.
All right, Ed, I got one for you. You ready?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This one really is tailored for you too. Would you rather be a revered dragon tamer with the power to communicate with dragons, or a master potion brewer whose concoctions can invoke any emotion?
Okay, well, I'm assuming
Dragons are so cool.
yeah, and I play a dragonborn, and I can already communicate with dragons as a dragonborn, so that would be really cool.
Yeah, dude, cross over into
real life. And my dragonborn character is so cool that I kind of want to be them most of the time anyway.
Oh, yeah.
But I think I'm going to go with Master Potion Brewer.
Really?
Yeah, here's the thing. If I had that ability, and I'm going to say this with as all of the respect for humanity.
Okay.
We have such a world or a society where people are depressed.
Mm-hmm.
I would be able to just help alleviate their depression. It's that chemical part of it.
Yeah.
And if I really think if we could do that, people would be much happier.
You'd be like a reverse comic book villain that instead of poisoning the water supply.
Yeah, I'd be putting it all up in the water supply.
It's like he's just putting heroin in it. Kristen, I tell Ed a dad joke each episode.
Yeah.
Okay, so Ed tapped out. Ed wants a break today.
Amen.
Okay.
So I'm going to tell you the dad joke.
Oh.
Are you ready for the dad joke?
If I must, let's go for it.
All right. What do you call a factory that makes okay products?
Lay it on me.
A satisfactory?
Oh.
Okay.
That's even better hearing two people groan at the end of it. It's actually pretty nice.
The sad thing is I should have just walked out of the room and then came back in. I still had to hear it. I love your dad jokes. They're so bad.
Thank you.
Jacob, today's topic was something that when we were brainstorming about what we would do for this season, you came up with. It honestly would have never occurred to me, even though it sounds logical. And I had zero knowledge about it, and I refused to do the research since you were going to do the episode so that I could heckle you. But you've been about to pee yourself since we put it on the schedule.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Do I even need to ask, did you do your homework?
No, absolutely not, man.
So Jacob, why don't you tell the people about ghost ships?
I would show up for the one episode topic that actually makes my skin crawl.
Really? You don't like ghost ships?
No, I don't know what kind of phobia this is, but I have it.
Well, Kristen, just so you know, almost every episode we do creeps Jacob out.
Yeah, just about.
So turnabout's very
Well, think
Yeah.
about this. This is going to be the culmination of two phobias. Imagine you got a ship sinking under the weight of ghosts. So phasmophobia and thalassophobia, I think is what it's called, the fear of the ocean. It's like a twofer. You get a twofer today.
Yeah.
There's also there's a fear involved with the ocean and like large things
Like
and like
vessels
unseen
and- yeah.
large
Oh, God,
things.
yeah.
And I think that's where, for me, this is.
I think that this is the perfect opportunity to just razz you a little bit.
Okay.
Most of those ghost ships, most of those cruise ships you go on, like I've already said, have to be haunted.
Oh God, they have to be, man.
So I just want you to really think about that when you and your brother go on your cruise this year.
Okay. So real quick, I'm going to go over what the definition of a ghost ship is. It was a banging movie if you've never watched it, but a ghost ship are also known as phantom ships. They're vessels that are found adrift with no living crew on board. The ships can be a result of a various wide-ranging amount of circumstances, including abandonment due to emergencies, piracy is very common, or, as we'll discuss later, unforeseen accidents that incapacitate the crew or make them disappear. So often ghost ships are surrounded by a lot of speculation, which I love, because there's a lot of wiggle room for conspiracies.
Conspiracy theories.
Oh, yeah. But contrary to what a lot of people might think, ghost ships have actually been part of maritime lore for centuries. I'm going to be talking about 4 different instances of ghost ships, but I wanted to start with something that I thought was really funny when I started doing the research. I found records of an actual ghost ship, not an abandoned ship found out in the ocean, but a
You mean
ship.
like a haunted ship?
Yeah, like a fucking, imagine a boat had a spirit and it got destroyed and disappeared, and then it floated around. Right? Have you guys heard of this?
Oh, gosh.
Well,
Okay.
I've seen the movie, so
So, are you guys familiar with Canadian folklore of any kind? And that's
No,
no,
I don't think so.
no,
Okay. So, Quebec, not Quebec, but Quebec,
Quebec.
has a story of something called the Chasse Galerie, is the name of it. And it is a haunted canoe that paddles the skies.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So check it out. The Chasse Galerie, also known as the Bewitched Canoe, or the very aptly titled Flying Canoe, is a famous French-Canadian legend rooted in Quebec folklore. So here is the legend. Dates back to about the 19th century, but it has roots in oral traditions of French-Canadian lumberjacks and voyageurs, mainly fur traders that were settling the area. That was what a majority of the population that came to Canada originally was doing. And it was popularized by a gentleman by the name of Henri Beauregard, which is a fantastic name.
That's a wonderful name.
And he wrote a short story called La Chasse Galerie in 1891. So he really, when I did a little bit of research on it, and I thought it was really cool, he claims at the beginning of the book that a lumberjack told him this story. So I think that that's cool. I don't know if that's true, but if it is, that's awesome. So the story involves a group of lumberjacks working in a remote forest camp during the winter.
Okay.
Desperate to see their loved ones for New Year's Eve, they make a pact with the devil. All right? That never goes wrong.
The devil that goes down to Georgia, or
Yes.
or like a demon.
He's got a fiddle, and he also has a canoe
The
now.
actual Satan devil.
Yes. Okay.
Beelzebub himself.
In exchange for the ability to fly home in a canoe that they had, right? Because they knew that it would take too long to travel up and down the river. They're like, man, if only this thing could fly, right? They agree not to speak the name of God or touch any crosses or church steeples during their journey. So the devil accepts their deal, right? He enchants the canoe, allowing it to soar through the night. And the men are paddling furiously to get through the air in this canoe, right? And they're just soaring over like forests and rivers and waving down at people in some villages and stuff like that. And they are just having a blast, okay? This is 1891. Most people have never been more than 20 feet off of the ground for a sustained period of time, right? Despite their best efforts, The men often find it very difficult to avoid mentioning God's name. Obviously, as they're soaring above everything in their little flying canoe, they're probably saying shit like, oh my God, you know? So there's strike one.
So I will just bring this up. There had not been flight until 1903. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure they were shitting their pants.
Oh, yeah. So, also, as part of the devil's cunning trickery, he clearly understood that if he made it navigable the same way that a canoe would be in water, these seasoned travelers and lumberjacks, explorers or whatever, would have no problem navigating the canoe exactly the way they want it. But now that it's in the air, they can't really control it. And since they can't really control it, they can't avoid flying over churches and almost running in to the steeple at the top of it where there was a giant cross. And in the legend, one of them, in a desperate bid, because they thought if there gets a hole in this canoe, do we go down with it? Like, what's going to happen? He uses his oar to push off of the church steeple, making contact with the cross. So that was strike two. Well, either way, they now have to face the consequences of breaking their pact with the devil. And because of that, they're damned to eternity. There was also a variant where they crash into the cross, they careen down and die after they hit the roof of the church, right?
Thus, he gets their soul anyway.
Oh, yeah. So, like most folklore and legends, chasse galerie, it serves as like the cautionary tale, like never make a deal with the devil type of thing. The cool thing is that there's a legend now that says that sometimes if you're out in the wilderness, you'll see a canoe just float above you with the damned souls of those guys.
So I'm going to call bullshit. That ain't no ship. A ship is much bigger. That's not even a boat.
Imagine if we did the same shit with like a Disney cruise ship. Like we're caught out in a hurricane. We're like, please let us get back safely. Could you imagine seeing like a carnival ship with all the booze cruise people just partying, just ghostly floating by you?
I want to be a part of that ship.
Dude, yeah, that's a good way to go. Maybe that's where you go if you die on a cruise ship. You're just on a ghost ship.
Maybe that's where you go when you die anyway. Maybe that's heaven. Like, I think Kristen and I'll take a margarita and we'll be on the Lido deck.
Yes, please.
So I wanted to start with an actual account of a real ghost ship, but
you didn't.
No.
I'm just trying to wrap my head around people going into town and being like, you won't believe it. I was out camping this weekend and I saw a canoe floating through the air. Seriously, trust me.
I'd be like, dude, I'm going camping with that guy next. Whatever he's got sounds like it's worth it. So I'm actually going to now bring us back to the real phenomenon known as ghost ships, the abandoned sea fleets that various sailors and lighthouse workers claim to see out in the sea.
These are the things I want to hear about.
So one thing, or one ship that I'll talk about was the MV pronounce that, Kristen. The MV
Lubov?
Lyubov? L-Y-U-B-O-V. I don't know. The MV Lubov or whatever. So it was built in 1976 by a Yugoslavian company. Basically, this ship was originally designed for a whole host of different reasons. It was supposed to sail around the North Atlantic, and it was strong enough to withstand like crashing into ice and it not sink, okay? While it was primarily used for Antarctic cruises, after being taken out of service in 2010, it basically just sat in a dock in St. John's, Newfoundland, Canada for like 2 years. It's very, very common for very large ships that the cost to break them down outweighs the potential money that the original company that produced it could make off of it. So they essentially scrapped it.
Scrapped it or abandoned it in dry dock?
Yeah, they abandoned it in a dock, and it was one of those things where they do have to go through official companies to break it down properly, right? But it's also kind of like a wink, wink, nudge, nudge. We won't care if you help us take this thing apart, whether that's legally or illegally. So this is where it eventually runs into some trouble. There were some people that were taking the ship apart, and without realizing it, they broke the tow line on it. All right. So they were doing this illegally, which I thought was interesting. And then it just starts floating out into the North Atlantic. Now, this ship was massive. It was 290 feet long, and from where it would sit comfortably in the water, so from the waterline up, it had a high point of about 53 feet, so 5 stories. It was a massive ship. So if you're sitting there listening to this and you're like, well, why didn't they just, get a boat out there and stop it? Once that thing starts moving, since it doesn't have any power and the fact that it's anchor, you can't manually release it for whatever reason at this point. They just basically had to wave at it as it just, bye. Yeah, exactly. So one thing I thought I wanted to bring up and why I wanted to talk about the MV Lyubov is that it really highlights how massive the ocean actually is. So that was a 300-foot long ship that was 5 stories tall. And then once it got out past the horizon, they couldn't find it anymore, which is crazy because its radar system and the way that it would communicate back to land was down.
Yeah.
And that is just how mind-blowingly huge the ocean is, that you can't even find a 5-story building floating around.
But have people seen it since?
So this is really creepy. A lot of people that were fishing in that area would be like, yo, we just saw a massive ship. It's clear nobody's controlling it, but we can't get in contact with them. They don't have any flags denoting what nationality they're from, but it's clearly not like a pirate vessel. So this is so creepy to me. They would radio back to the Coast Guard and be like, hey, there's a ship out here. We can't make any communication with them, but we don't want to get too close. Maybe you guys should send somebody out. And then sometimes the Coast Guard would just be like, it's probably that ship that just kind of left dock and we haven't been able to find it. What if it wasn't, though? What if it was an actual stranded group of people?
Or what if it was a spy ship?
Could have been a spy ship. Could have been the Russians.
You love a good conspiracy.
So, yeah.
Thing that's getting under my skin right now is the thought of if you've ever watched Deadliest Catch or any of those shows and you see just how much they cannot see at night.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine this just coming out of nowhere into the ship lights.
Or
it's just
into
creaking,
your ship.
Yeah.
That silent, weird, eerie creaking. Nobody's on it. You don't know which direction it's going to go.
If we knew where it was, I wonder how much money it would cost to get Jacob to spend the night on it.
That would be the night that it sinks. Unfortunately, it hasn't been spotted in about 5 or 6 years.
Storm probably took it down.
That's exactly what a lot of people think. There was a giant oil spot that they ended up finding randomly. So they're like, this is probably what it was. But again, we don't know.
And it's probably not worth their time to send a camera down to see either.
No, exactly. And that part of the world is very remote anyways. So who cares? But I wanted to start with that ship because of the scale of it. Right? Now, here are some instances of smaller ships that were found. So, the most famous was called the Mary Celeste, and it was offered by a Canadian-American merchant brigantine, which was a group of people that had a partnership in both countries to chip in, buy this ship, and then they would cut each other tax deals on the shipping of the goods back and forth, right? So, the Mary Celeste was discovered adrift and deserted in the Atlantic Ocean off of the Azorian Islands on December 4th, 1872. The Canadian brigantine, another ship part of this fleet, the De Gracia, found her in a disheveled but still seaworthy condition under partial sail with 1 lifeboat missing. The last entry in her log was dated 10 days earlier. She left New York City for Genoa on November the 7th, and was still amply provisioned when found. Her cargo of alcohol, interestingly enough, was entirely intact. The captain's and the crew's personal belongings were undisturbed. None of those who were registered to be on board were ever seen or heard from again. So, some common theories, all right, that I found to explain this, and then I'll go into what I think it was, right? Some common theories are that the sound of the alcohol on board potentially catching fire from a candle or someone lighting a cigar caused an explosion that made the crew abandon ship. So I started looking into this, right? There's a typical phenomenon that would happen when you were transporting giant kegs of alcohol back then. Their ability to seal things is not like how it is right now, where they would put it in a giant plastic drum, right? So those fumes would slowly start to escape. And there is a situation where if an open flame comes into contact, a massive fireball can erupt. But it's quite literally just for show. We won't actually damage everything else. But the theory is that the alcoholic fumes coming up intoxicated the crew. And made one of them walk down there with a candle. He saw a giant explosion. They're all sufficiently drunk. He goes, this whole ship's about to blow up. They don't even bother to grab any personal belongings or food because they're standing on a giant grenade, essentially. And they all hop into this ship, and then they cut the rope from the main ship. So that means that the crew may have made their own ghost ship.
They made themselves ghosts. That to me, that sounds like more than anything, it could be that they were kidnapped by pirates.
So,
or something.
This is a really interesting. There's a
human
couple
traffickers, if you will.
This is a really common theory as well. So, interestingly enough, there was a certain instrument that was found on the deck of the ship. Okay, now the name of this instrument, I forgot what it was originally called, but essentially, it determined how much water the ship had. So these ships were designed to take on some amount of water.
Right.
Like it's inevitable, right? The theory goes that a water spout crashed into the ship, making them think that they had taken on way more water than they actually had. And then, in their drunken stupor, thought that the ship was going down, and they hop onto their life raft. And the reason why they cut the rope is that if that thing starts to sink, it's so heavy, it will pull their raft down too. There was also one theory, but this one doesn't really make any sense because it's told by somebody that then say, and there were no survivors. So you're like, well, how did they get the story to you? The theory goes that at one point they were doing like a swimming contest. So they were, in really still waters, no wind was blowing. So they didn't even bother dropping anchor. And the moment that they all jump into the water, sharks eat them.
I think you're ignoring the most obvious solution. Aliens.
Oh, I'm so glad you brought that up, Ed, because there was reported at that time a submarine earthquake. Okay. So a submarine not meaning the actual ship that's underwater, but something that is underneath the water. So as you guys are all familiar, tectonic plates are constantly shifting and moving, especially in the ocean. There was one that was recorded in this area at that time. I believe that the earthquake was actually the sound and force of an alien spacecraft coming out of the floor of the ocean and taking off while abducting the crew for further research. And all I'm saying is, what's more likely, that or a swimming contest gone wrong? Come on. I'm just asking questions.
I'm just saying aliens because I know you like aliens. B, that is a more interesting story than swimming contest. So I'm going to give you aliens on that. What do you think, Kristen?
Yeah, I think I'll let you have it.
Yeah. I mean, there's no proof that it wasn't aliens, is the thing.
And then all the other ones, too. You have to think all the many things on the checklist that had to happen for those stories to be quote-unquote plausible.
I know. Yeah. You're grasping at the straws, trying to really make sense out of it. So I'm taking aliens. All right. Now I'm going to talk about the Kaz 2. Are you guys familiar with the Kaz 2 at all?
No.
So it's dubbed as the Ghost Yacht. And it was about a 30-foot long sea vessel that was found drifting about 160 kilometers off northeastern coast of Australia in 2007. All right. So this is a very recent.
Okay, so I'm going to say this before you get too deep into Australia. I will never visit Australia.
No, fuck that.
Papa Jack, you all know him, Jared's grandfather, and his mama Nikki. The family will never go to Australia because the three of us will never step foot there.
No, yeah.
It is a beautiful country, but I've seen stuff there, like. The spiders are as big as you are, Jacob.
I know.
And a spider that has a fighting chance against a snake? No, thank you.
Yeah, well, and some of the snakes, the most venomous in the whole world, no, it's a place of death.
Oh, yeah.
No. Ed don't need to go. I want to go other places where I can sip margaritas and lounge back and relax.
Not have snakes attack
Not have
you.
snakes attacking me.
Well, maybe this story will also further your resolve to never go there.
I also want to go back real quick.
Uh-huh.
I just want to say that me saying aliens,
Yes.
I did that because of Occam's razor.
Okay.
Okay. The simplest explanation is probably the real one. So,
Well, a lot of ghost ship, especially prior to the year 1900, a lot of ghost ship phenomenon was also attributed not to aliens, but to giant sea squids, just like picking everybody up off of the ship and eating them. But anyway,
They
so
have great motor skills.
Yeah.
Kraken has wonderful, fine motor skills to pick up just the people.
So, on the 20th of April, 2007, they found this abandoned yacht. Okay, so the fate of the 3-man crew that was originally on it remains unknown. And there are some kind of really mysterious circumstances surrounding the way in which they actually disappeared. Okay, so to quote John Hall, Queensland's Emergency Management Office, he said, quote, "What they found was a bit strange in that everything was normal. There was just no sign of the crew." End quote. So, to give you guys an idea of what they meant by everything was normal, I'll read from the actual report that I ended up finding. When they made contact with the boat and they sailed over there to it in a little dinghy and got on board, they found out that the boat was in perfect serviceable condition and was laid out as if the crew was actually still on board, like they kind of interrupted them. Okay? To give you further details, food and flatware were set out on the table. A laptop computer was set up and turned on, and the engines were still running. And the officials that basically found the boat confirmed through their investigation that the emergency systems, including the GPS, the radio, and its nautical instruments, were still fully functional as well. And that, this was the saddest part, it still had its full complement of life jackets on board. Nobody had taken it. A single one.
Aliens.
I know. There's even a small emergency life raft that was still hoisted on the stern of the boat, and the anchor was up too, which I find really interesting. The only signs that things were out of the ordinary, other than the fact that the crew was gone, was that one of the boat's sails had been badly shredded. So, here's some theories.
Alien laser beams.
Giant squid, dropped
Nah.
off by aliens, perchance. The real reason we'll actually probably never know, but I found one that was really creepy just imagining it happening to you. So, one of the last recorded locations that was pinged on the radar for this boat was in an area where there were a lot of sandbars. Sandbars are basically where the ocean deposits more sand and that you may think that you're higher up in the water than you actually are, and then boom, you run aground, okay? So
they hit a sandbar, they all fell off and died.
no, even sadder. The theory is that they got stuck on a sandbar, so they drew up their anchor in order to get it dislodged. It was apparently not deep enough of a sandbar that they went into the water during low tide, and as the tide got higher and higher, they shoved it because the boat becomes lighter and lighter. So 3 men reasonably could dislodge a boat as long as it wasn't buried too deep into the sand. But then a huge gust of wind caught the sail, causing it to be dislodged, and the men couldn't climb back on board. And
So
they
this
had-
ship was only 3 people,
Yep, it was a yacht.
but only 3 people on it?
Only 3 people on it. 2 brothers and a friend of theirs. And then
Well-
there goes the boat.
I would say that there's another theory that could play along with that one, is that they got stuck on a sandbar. They got out to explore to see if they could find help, because sandbars are often associated with like nearby islands or whatever. And the boat during the night, the tide took it out and they didn't have a boat the next morning.
There's another theory that 2 of them
Or human trafficking.
got off of the boat to dislodge it. And one guy who was an inexperienced sailor that they had was on it. The moment that it got dislodged, in his panic, he starts to cut the sail in order to get it to not travel as fast away. And he probably didn't know how to drop the anchor either. So maybe in his panic, he tries to save himself. And then with the shame of saving himself,
I'm not
jumps
buying
off
that.
into the ocean.
I'm not buying that one. What do you think, Kristen?
I don't know. There's even things out there like rogue waves and stuff.
I
don't know.
I can't say pirates because they didn't take the ship, but I keep saying human trafficking, and I am being serious about that.
No, especially off the coast of Somalia.
Yeah.
You get kidnapped all the time for ransom in that area.
Well, I don't get kidnapped all the time. I understand what you're saying. I would get kidnapped and they would take me back because I would be so like, what are we doing next?
Well, hey there, family. I'm Presley King, the voice of Uncle Theo here at Ravens Vail Podcast. At Ravens Vail, we love telling you our story. That's why I'm excited to tell you about Appalachian Horror Fest 2024. Appalachian Horror Fest 2024 is an evening of music and storytelling themed around the macabre. The event will take place on Saturday, October 12th, 2024 at Central Cinema in Knoxville, Tennessee from 5:30 until 9:30. Our hauntingly talented musicians will serenade you with eerie tunes that echo through the misty Appalachian hills. Gather round as our master storytellers weave through their blood-curdling tales. Legends of restless spirits, vengeful ghosts, and ancient curses will dance in your imagination. Tickets are on sale now at appalachianhorrorfest.com/tickets. Oh, storytellers! If your words can raise goosebumps and summon sleeping spirits, step into the spotlight. Submit your spine-chilling tale at appalachianhorrorfest.com/storytellers. Appalachian Horror Fest. We hope to see you there.
All right, guys. So those were some examples of kind of lighthearted ghost ships. This one was the creepiest. Yeah.
Okay.
So, in June 1947, or February 1948, according to whatever account you really want to go, distress calls were allegedly received by nearby ships in the Strait of Malacca from the Dutch freighter the SS Orang Medan. The message was, all officers, including captain, are dead, lying in the chart room and bridge. Possibly, whole crew dead. This was followed by a series of indecipherable Morse code. And finally, the last coherent message that was received was, quote, I die, end quote.
This is still down in Sumatra.
Sumatra?
This is that area.
So, obviously, any ships that got that message were like, what the fuck? So they all charted a course to immediately intercept it. There was an American vessel nearby called the Silver Star. It was also referred to as the City of Baltimore. So I guess it was a pretty large ship. And it was among the first ships that reportedly received the distress call and set out to provide assistance, rerouting the course that they were originally on. When the Silver Star reached the Orang Medan, they found the ship intact, but with no signs of life. The entire crew was dead, including the captain, the officers, and reportedly, all of them had terrified expressions, and some of them with arms outstretched, as if fending off some sort of unseen assailant. And including the ship's dog was dead. Not a single living creature left on the ship.
Don't mess with my dogs.
I know, right?
Or cats.
The John Wick sea voyaging edition. Now, interestingly enough, in the autopsy report, the bodies were found with no visible injuries. The temperature on board was reportedly very cold, despite the tropical climate in that area. Shortly after boarding the deck of the Orang Medan, the Silver Star boarding crew began their investigation, but then a fire broke out in the ship's cargo hold. The rescuers quickly evacuated, and then the Orang Medan exploded and sank soon afterwards.
But it didn't.
What do you mean?
Well, people saw it.
Yeah, they were on the ship, but then a fire broke out, and then they got back to their ship.
So the rescuers were there? Oh, okay.
So the Silver Star crew got onto the ship, found all the dead bodies, was trying to figure out what the fuck's going on. Then a fire broke out, and then a huge explosion. They all jumped off of the ship, swam back to theirs or got back to their lifeboat. Then another massive explosion erupted, and then the Orang Medan sank to the depths.
I do remember something about this one, though. And there was talk about, like, it was a covert operations.
Yeah.
Where the military was undercover, and so they were taken out because they were, I can't remember all the things, but it was like a military smuggling operation gone wrong or something.
So what they kind of theorized was that the cargo ship was being listed as transporting something relatively benign, but secretly was contracted by the U.S. military to transport potassium cyanide and nitroglycerin, which would explain the sudden fire and explosion. However, obviously, if this was a covert operation, there isn't a paper trail that we can find. Also, with the potential of the potassium cyanide being on board, that could explain why all of them died in the positions that they were. Like a leak or something.
Doesn't really explain the terror on their faces.
I know, right? Or the fact that it was way colder on the ship.
Yeah.
Even in tropical climate.
I mean, depending on what the poisoning is, if you felt it as it was killing you, or what form of death that caused. I mean, if you were in pain or if you had some form of heart attack, you would move your arms and reach out for help or something. You'd be panicked. You'd feel it. I'm sure that my face wouldn't be in an ear-to-ear grin.
Yeah, I know, right?
I don't know.
I'm gonna say I think all of that's plausible, but I'm still gonna say aliens or ghosts.
Aliens, yeah, no, ghost aliens.
Ghost aliens.
Ghost aliens, pirates.
You know, I'm reading a book right now about. It's a witch book, but shocker. But there's a curse where the smugglers were pirates, and they were robbed by one of the families, and now they're coming back. So I'm going to say pirate, alien, smugglers.
Do you know what ghost pirates are after the most?
What?
Booty.
The booty.
Oh my gosh.
Snuck an extra one in there. Now, here's what I think is kind of interesting. There's some skepticism about the veracity of the Orang Medan story, mainly stemming from the fact that people have not been able to find official records of the ship's existence or these quote-unquote distress signals received. The Silver Star is a legit ship that we can trace back, and then some of the crew members talked about this experience happening, right? So is it all just some sort of collective fabrication that they all agreed to talk about for whatever reason?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either. There was one theory I saw where the ship itself was being intercepted by the Silver Star, found out to be smugglers, and then they killed everybody on board and then blew up the ship.
Now, I can accept something like that more. Yeah. I'm just wondering.
A cover story.
Yeah, a cover story. I'm just wondering if we could ever talk Kristen into going on a haunted ship.
Listen, okay, wait until you hear about the Queen Mary. Because your girl has been there, believe it or not.
Is that why they freak you out so much?
Well, okay, so the haunted ship situation, ghost and things like that, that wasn't really the under the skin about ghost ships that really gets to me. It's the unmanned, uncontrolled, abandoned, dilapidated, falling apart,
but still
appearing slowly out of nowhere.
Yeah, that's so creepy.
That just, oh.
I'd be down to go on a haunted ship if there's alcohol, turn it into a real booze cruise.
A booze cruise?
It just keeps coming.
It just keeps coming.
Some low-hanging fruit in this episode. I'm sorry.
Good, because you're only 5'5".
I hate this place. Cut that. Cut that.
Don't cut that. I will say that speaking of ghosts and hauntings, pretty soon we're trying to keep it under wraps, but we've been threatening for that paranormal investigation. It's coming real soon. Like, it's soon. And then we're going to have Jacob tell you all about his experience.
Oh, yeah. Really looking forward to it. I can't wait. But that's all the information I have on ghost ships. As we draw the curtains on today's voyage into the eerie world of ghost ships, we leave you with the echoes of creaking wood and the whispers of the sea. These spectral vessels, shrouded in mystery, continue to captivate us with tales of vanished crews, timeless wanderings, and the undying allure of the unknown. Thank you for joining us on this nautical journey through history and legend. May your compass always point true, and may the winds ever be in your favor. Until next time, keep an eye on the horizon. Who knows what might emerge from the mist?
Aliens.
Aliens.
Now, family, you adults have a few chores to do. Go on over to ravensvail.com and see about doing your chores on social media. Follow us on all the social media platforms that we've made available just for you folks. Like, listen, subscribe, and follow wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you don't mind, leave us a good rating and a kind comment. You can find the Ravens Vail Cauldron podcast on your favorite podcast platform. If you haven't already, just search for the Ravens Vail Cauldron podcast. Again, make sure you hit the follow button to stay up to date with our latest episodes.
Oh, and tell your friends about us, won't you?
So until next time, family, see you soon.
The Ravens Vail Cauldron is a production of Small Raven Media. Today's episode was hosted by Ed Bolden-Greer with co-host Jacob A. Garner. Audio engineering and sound design by Nick Devan at Nicky D Sound. Copyrighted 2024, Small Raven Media. All rights reserved.